despite the tragedy that's COVID-19, there have been winners and losers. And one of the winners has really been the payments industry. They've certainly benefited from the pandemic in a lot of ways, mostly through the speeding up of the adoption of digital payment methods. So we see this both online and in store. And we also see that there's a big drop in the use of cash. We see from the National Retail Federation around 53% drop in the use of cash, 64% drop with those with incomes higher than 150,000. So really big sea change there in the way that people are paying. In addition, no touch or contactless payments have increased by about 69% since January 2020. And of those currently using contactless payments, retailers, 57% said they'll continue to do so beyond the pandemic. The NRF also reported in August of 2020 that 94% of retailers expect contactless payments to continue to increase over the next 18 months. And this is tapping to pay using your card. We also see, and we heard this in some of the other sessions today, increased adoption of buy now, pay later, or buy online and pick up in store, increase in digital wallets, mobile payments. So obviously, what we've all been waiting for is here, right? The accelerated adoption of a lot of these advanced payment methods beyond cash and card. And this is why I'm thrilled to have two of the payments industry's most engaged leaders here today to talk to us about the evolution of payment couched within this accelerated adoption environment. So I wanted to introduce or have actually Lisa and Mike both introduce themselves. Lisa, can you go first?
Sure. I'm Lisa Ellis. I'm a partner and senior research analyst at MoffettNathanson. I'm a equity research analyst or stock analyst. That means focused in the payments industry. So I have active coverage on Visa, MasterCard, leading players in the space. If you ever join their earnings calls or anything like that, you would hear my voice. Thanks. And thanks for having me today.
Yeah, great to have you. And Mike?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm the Director of Strategic Product Management for Payments and POS for Kroger. So again, as we operate across the country, we have several different names that we operate across, but Kroger's our main brand, and we support all those overall efforts.
Great. It's great to have you, Mike. And as Ellen mentioned, I'm a senior client officer and senior vice president here on the West Coast, self-identified payments nerd, and reporting live from sunny San Diego. So let's take a look at some of the research that Ipsos did in early March when we asked consumers around the ease of checkout. We asked them, how influential is that checkout experience when choosing where to shop? And we see roughly about 78% stated that ease of checkout is a factor when they're choosing where to shop. So I'd like to discuss this checkout experience and how it's changed over the past year and obviously where it's headed into the future. So Lisa, I'll turn to you first. Where is the accelerated adoption of payments headed? And what can retailers expect from the payments industry in this regard?
Yeah, so I think we've all experienced sort of the first order shifts of payments that were already happening before the pandemic and just were accelerated, like less use of cash, more use of digital forms of payment, a shift toward more e-commerce, some level of innovation at checkout, like using a digital wallet, meaning like an Apple Pay or using a buy now, pay later player. Really looking forward, however, when I talk to the payments players in the space, they're really focused increasingly on omni-channel payments experiences, enabling the ability to have that really seamless experience between and actually eliminating the line really between what is sort of online versus in store. So enabling the concept that you would check into a store and use your online profile that's got all your order history and your payment methods and everything actually while you're standing in a store. And all of the back-end plumbing that's required to enable that type of consumer experience.
Yeah, that's really great. It's interesting to see the numerous payments options that you have when you're checking out online, right? On that checkout page, everything from cryptocurrencies to installments to using traditional card methods. Mike, is what Lisa is anticipating, is that realistic in the grocery industry where you're innovating?
Yeah, I think it's very accurate. So when you're looking at the grocery industry, when they're in the store, the checkout experience is not their most exciting thing. They're there. The kids are in the cart. They've probably got a sucker that's sticking to things along the way. They're taking things in and out of the cart. Like by the time most parents have gotten to that stage, they're really ready to get out of our stores. So we are trying to make that very simple and fast. Our consumers are really trying to figure out ways to, again, manage their overall business. We try to broaden our acceptance out there and do increase our speed, whether, waiting in line, whether it's self-checkout, we try to give different options. And I think what Lisa, just kind of countering on a point she has there, like when we're really talking about it, we're really looking to help try to blend those two experiences together. Because again, our customers are shopping a lot more online. They are putting those credentials and sort of those things within our wallet. We're really trying to blend those two experiences together. So a customer is recognized whether they're online and shopping with us or they're in our stores. So we're using solutions like our Kroger Pay, which is our mobile checkout device, to actually kind of bring those two things together. So with the QR code, they can check out, it gets their payment, their loyalty, coupon, things like that are all kind of embedded in there. It's a much faster checkout experience. And we're trying to really, again, whether Tim or Lisa are in our store or they're online, we want to have that same reaction to them. And again, be simple, be fast, making sure that they're, not trying to man the kids and keep things in and out of the cart and check out with us at a pretty rapid pace for them.
Yeah, I can relate to that as a dad with 3 small kids. Trying to check out can be a challenge at times, especially with all the things that they can grab and put on the
right.
checkout.
All the candy bars are right there at the end,
right
so like they're within reach.
Yeah, so that checkout experience, if we think about it, I mean, what we're really trying to solve for is simplicity and making it easy. Are there things that we can expect in the future? Because a lot of times consumers, they went from swiping their card to dipping it, and then you choose, is it credit or is it debit? Is it, all these various choices that people are making without really understanding all the implications and what's happening. So are there things that you're doing to simplify that process and make it clear for consumers?
Directed me, Tim?
Mike. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, sorry. I didn't want to stop. Definitely. Like, again, we're trying to make sure customers have a choice. They've made decisions around what they're paying for and how they want to pay for them. We want to make sure that the options they're looking for, we have, there's dozens and dozens of options to check out with now. It used to be just one or two cards and then cash. So we're trying to make sure they have the options that they're most interested in. And again, those are brought to them in a fast way, whether it's a very speedy checkout. We have a very industry-leading checkout device where we're actually moving things through very, very quickly, to other devices, whether it's like a scan bag and go type of thing, or again, Kroger Pay, where we're trying to facilitate ease and where the customer has comfort and security very, very quickly at the touch of their hands.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just one more question for you, Mike, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Lisa. I mean, in your work stream, I would imagine that you're, working on innovations for Kroger Pay and checkout, and then COVID strikes, a year ago. I mean, how did that change your work streams and the things that you were working on?
Well, it obviously a fairly unprecedented event for us. So when we start looking back, it's been almost a year ago, well, probably a year ago last week, actually, where we were all sitting at our desk and things seemed kind of scary, but like normal. We still sat in traffic and went downtown and did all those things. Obviously, that's pivoted a great deal in the last year. And really what was, especially in the grocery industry, like people were afraid to go into stores, whether they're grocery stores or shopping centers or whatever those kind of things are. People really quickly pivoted to pickup and delivery methods. Those, as in most grocers, were pretty early in that development curve on what's out there, both in our overall overall capacity and the functionality that are there. So a year ago, we were working some pretty long days to make sure that that functionality was working for us. Like, we wanted to make sure customers had available slots. If they were comfortable coming in our stores, we wanted to enable Kroger Pay. We were in a pilot phase at that time. We rapidly accelerated to get that out to all of our stores. We're in I think most divisions right now. There's a couple that we're still working through. But again, putting that in place to make sure our customers felt safe that they could, if they were in store, they could work with us. And then our online pieces, again, the volume was just really unprecedented. We couldn't anticipate the amount of years of growth that we picked up in the last 365 days. Like, it's great for our business model, but again, some of that functionality and just our staffing was really challenged in that space. And the teams did miraculously well. I mean, they were fearful for their own safety, whether, again, everybody, 300 days ago, we're not 100% sure how that affected them. So we had to change our safety protocols in store, plus in how we were dealing with our customers. And then again, kind of the functionality piece, like, we did not accept like SNAP benefits for like government EBT online for our pickup services. We had to rapidly put that in. So we had teams working nights and weekends to get that in place to make sure our customers could feel safe. Again, that became available for our pickup customers. We saw great growth in that space, that we were an option for our customers to go in that space. And really, we were just striving to how do we serve our customers, make them feel safe, and get them what they need. And we've learned some things along the way. We've dramatically accelerated, and I think our teams have responded great, and Kroger's done a great job getting in position. Still a lot of work for us to do. Again, that volume's very consistent now. We're seeing those customers come time and time again, and we want to make sure that again, we do see so many people putting in their information using our online facilities. We now want to kind of bleed that back together with our store again, and like, how do those things come together and really drive our overall environment? So it's exciting to see that growth, and it's exciting to see what the teams have been able to put in functionality wise to make it better for our customers. And we got a long way to go still, but I think we've made some great progress really quickly.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure it was it was quite the fire drill for you guys.
Yes.
Given that everybody has to use grocery stores and they have to stay open, so it was sort of flying it, building the plane as you fly it there a bit. And then Lisa, I really liked what you said about these experiences being blended and these payment options that we see online, both also being in store. Do you think that the expectation going forward is going to be what we see online, curated offers, personalization? In store, like what we see with online shopping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that especially consumers now, having gotten accustomed to buying a lot of things online, right? There are clear benefits to the shopping experience in many cases online, where you can easily sort and look exactly for what you're looking for, like the sorting, the filtering, the maintaining your customer profile there. And many retailers are looking to integrate those experiences back into the store. So when we think about and are working, with the payments company who have to enable a lot of this on the back end, what that experience looks like, it's a lot of that, where the idea being, you've got, a bit, essentially like a big touch screen literally in the store, where you can do the same type of filtering and sorting that you would do online in the store to identify and narrow down the product selection that you're interested in. But then perhaps there's some inventory there if you want to try something on or just pick it up and bring it home, but maybe it's not available, but it can be shipped to you overnight. And you know what I mean? And that whole experience is completely integrated. You can, your whole profile is there, so the order history is there and everything. And we were starting to see some of this before the pandemic. I mean, I remember myself personally, like many, receiving like a direct mail offer for a retailer literally 3 blocks from my office, saying like, hey, we just got, our spring dresses in, come in and look at them at your location that's 3 blocks from where you're sitting right now. So, we were starting to see some of that. But the pandemic has really accelerated that. And I mean, I think in a lot of that for the consumer also works in reverse. This whole idea that you can, just other concepts I hear a lot about are the ideas like, use the stores as sort of like last mile shipping for pickup and return. So rather than having to do a return at your UPS, or rather than having to do you have the shipment come all the way to your house, which kind of often can add to the delivery time. Well, why don't we use stores, actually, or a portion of the store, for the idea of just doing a curbside pickup basically in the store, right? That kind of concept was percolating before the pandemic and has gotten a big boost. A couple of other areas, just more from a payments perspective, that I think retailers have been keen for many years and are now starting to come through. One, and Mike mentioned this, is the integration of loyalty programs much better into payment, but both online but also in store. So with the ability to do a mobile payment through some sort of wallet, that opens up the capability to integrate retailer loyalty programs much more effectively. And then you think about combining that with the buy now, pay later options and promotions that you know what I mean? Like, you can see a much richer experience versus the traditional coupon or something that was, or the dongle, that was sort of a separate from the payment vehicle. That's one area where we're seeing a lot of innovation. And then more in the in the online environment is also just around security. I know that's not a sexy topic, but increasingly, a lot of the payments players are deploying a lot better artificial intelligence associated with security, which will help eliminate that friction of checkout of forgetting your password or having a million different password methods on all different websites. So, you have to click on the boxes with all the the fences or whatever. I get stressed out because you're not sure if it's really a fence, and eliminating a lot of that. There's a lot of effort behind the scenes going into AI-based authentication, where I had one of my payments companies say nope, we don't need your password anymore because we're more secure than you will ever be with that password. You'll always use the password that's easy to guess. We do a better job just with AI than you can ever with your password. So we're eliminating those completely, which I think, just from a retailer's perspective, that point of friction is just a big area of loss in conversion. And that's another area where I think we're, starting to see a lot more innovation. Basically, the idea of trying to get 80 to 85% of the volume of checkout through with essentially AI-based authorization and of checkout. Nothing like no password or even biometric or anything needed. So.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And, we're spending all this time trying to reduce friction, have better payment offers or options, having, better personalized offers and integrating loyalty with payment, So I want to talk a little bit about preference of payment methods, right? Because this is research from early March as well. So if we're spending all of this time, what is the preferred, building the experience, what is the preferred payment when shopping in person? When we still see cards dominate, right? Certainly PayPal is making some efforts in store to have their wallet be used in physical locations, but we still see, the Google Pay and the Apple Pay is only garnering about 7% of preference. So, Lisa, I just think, I've often wrote and talked about, the tipping point. What is that tipping point for these wallets to really be adopted? And so I'm curious what you think the tipping point is and how close we are to that.
In store, the tipping point really is when you integrate something beyond payment, meaning it's difficult to replicate or make the experience associated with a card for a consumer, particularly a contactless card where you don't touch anything and you just go like this and then you walk away, to improve upon that experience through any other method of payment. Apple Pay and Google Pay have struggled for 6-7 years because they're solving, they're just not really solving a problem. And actually it can be a little bit of a friction if you have to hold it up to your face and then put it down. And so I would say where we're seeing, and like I was mentioning, starting to see some of it's very early days, but I think where you do see examples of other forms of payment, like QR-based payment, getting traction in store, it's typically because it's integrated in with a loyalty program or a promotional program of some sort. So, and particularly for retailers with a lot of deep loyalty and, repeat customers that are coming every day or every week, like that can be very compelling. And I do think we're going to see more and more of that. Mm-hmm. And so with PayPal, or whether it's through retailer specific offerings like Kroger's Kroger Pay, that I know folks like have been around this for a long time. Like that was talked a lot about back in 2013, 2012, and it completely failed. But the whole environment just wasn't ready for it at that point. And I would say now I think maybe we're starting to get there.
And COVID could be really the tipping point for this, or the catalyst for this to work. Yeah, and Mike, I mean, when we used to conduct research around, adoption of payment methods or wallets, security would always rise to the top as a barrier, right? And so when you're developing, the functionality within Kroger Pay, what are the barriers that you see, and does security really still matter in the minds of consumers?
Yeah, I think it really does. And I think Lisa did a great job kind of just showing how things have advanced in that space and how important they still are for us. So, we have card security, but now we've also introduced personal security too as well. So now we have a mask on. We want to not touch as many things. Those things have all played into another element of security that's just as important to a customer. So, we want to create an experience that a customer feels very, very comfortable in. They're protected. We're protected too as a company because, again, we're exposed to fraud. People are stealing things for miles, stealing cards. Those kind of things are a real challenge for any business. And we try to protect both our consumer and our business ourselves, but not create too many obstacles. So you don't want to, Lisa made a great point. How many places do we all have passwords out there that we can't remember? Your wife set it up, your kid changed it, or something along the lines, and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do here. So, how do you make those things more seamless? How do you try to build those into your account and into your device? I think we're still early on. I think we're, to your all's point, we're starting to see a shift in that as that functionality becomes more repeatable. It's more in front of people. And we just continue to kind of develop along those lines. I don't think we've seen those massive jump ups in a lot of the digital wallets because, again, they were kind of a solution without a problem. But if we start adding value around them, and again, that's kind of how we look at both our in-store and online payment pieces. It's not just their payment card. Is it easy to tap a card? Yeah, absolutely. But if there's 4 or 5 other components to it that we're starting to embed into that overall service, that one is when we start seeing the value and adoption go up. Because, again, consumers don't want to keep track of their loyalty card. They don't want to remember passwords. If there's other things that we can enable for them and make their process smoother, easier, and then add other values to it. Again, it's not just about checkout. How do we start incorporating those other aspects to it? That's where we see today we're making good land share grabs, and then we really believe that's going to kind of help drive things. Again, as we've talked numerous times on here about as online and in-store start to blend more, if we can create that value across both of them and really kind of drive that together, we really believe that's kind of the future of what we're looking for in a lot of these payment areas.
This question is for both of you because I'm really curious. It sounds like the holy grail here is something we have been talking about for a while, right? That's the integration of loyalty and payment. It's the personalization of offers. It's the blending of online and offline payment methods. How far are we away from that? The example that keeps popping up in my mind as we discuss this is Starbucks, right? And I feel like I've been talking about Starbucks for I don't know how long as being sort of the gold standard out there. So for even retailers beyond just Kroger, what is the time horizon for that Holy Grail? Lisa, I'm gonna.
Yes, Lisa, go ahead, please.
Well, I'd say with small businesses starting fresh, it's here. If you're a smaller business starting fresh today, you're likely to buy integrated both payment and then probably management system that is has all of this. That's got an online component, order ahead, pick up. It's got in store. It's very omni-channel. It can take cards. It can do a QR. Like, those offerings are easy to build and, from the ground up when you're starting fresh. But if you're, a large retailer that has, hundreds of stores and big web channels, and you're using different payment systems on the back end for the different ones, realistically, while the capabilities honestly are largely there, it might require a little bit of piecing together. Actually getting all that implemented is still in the years, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that those are great points. I mean, when we look at it, there are challenges. I mean, we're all dealing with some legacy systems in some places. How do you make them, react and interact with the things that are happening very quickly and being built out so fast online? It is a challenge for us. I think we're still pretty early on in that curve. Kroger Pay is only about a year old, a little over a year old. So we're trying to build things in that space to move those forward. I think we've done a pretty good job of our initial offering having some of those pieces, but I still really see the value that we can add around that and the holistic experience that we're just starting on that journey. And I'm pretty excited about what I think it can bring for us, because again, we do have a lot of customers and we do have a lot of people that are interacting to us. And the other piece that's very important to any of these devices is just the overall frequency of use. So Kroger is a fairly frequent customer. Like Starbucks is using the example, Tim, like a lot of people are going every single day. Like that is an every single day purchase. They get benefits by using the device. Because again, they've built loyalty, they've built their stars, all those pieces are kind of built in there. All the order ahead is built in to add value around the payment piece. It's not just payment. It's like, I want my everyday coffee order, I want to get my stars, and I don't want to wait in line. Like, those are all features that they've built into that again, I think, a lot of retailers are playing catch up. We're trying to build services where, again, they are starting to encapsulate each other. So our loyalty, our payments together, how do we build in skipping out of the lane in a Kroger store on those things? And those we're starting to do pilots and things around that today that we see out there that are working pretty well. And it doesn't work for every consumer. It doesn't work for some channels in different places like that. But like, that's really what we're hoping to do is, again, add that, we're a fairly frequent use type of merchant. How do you build those skills and overall value in it? So it isn't just one thing. Like, why do I want, any app that's on my phone, if I just do one thing with it and I forget it? Like, we're trying to become a more frequent use, a more valuable tool. And again, Lisa's exactly right. We're all early in this piece, but I think it's here now. Customers don't want to touch all these things, and they don't want to bring multiple pieces together. They want us to kind of help them, again, fast and easy. Let's make that work together. Let's add value to it. I think we have a lot of opportunity there.
That's great. Yeah. Payments is often, viewed as easy, but it's actually really, really hard. So one more piece of research. We asked consumers, again, this was in early March, about some advanced payment methods, right? So if these were offered in the next 12 months, how likely will you to use them, right? So Apple Pay is included in here, but we also put taking a picture of a QR code, using your groceries loyalty card that acts like a debit or credit card, pay by waving your palm, facial recognition, and even putting a chip under your skin, right? So we can see sort of some interesting responses here from this. This is likely and unlikely, but I thought it was interesting to see some of the likelies out here for some of these advanced methods. So I just asked each of you, Lisa, you can go first, just to comment on these. I mean, we could have put crypto in here, certainly wearables. There's a bunch of things that could, biometrics, even, just palm print, but using your fingerprint. But what do we think about some of these advanced methods? I mean, do they have legs, and how likely are they to be used in store?
I think that in store, some of the advanced authentication, as you're describing, it's very cool, but well, let me put it this way. I think where you could see a value proposition for doing the biometric options that you're describing, like a palm or like facial recognition or something else that's associated with your person uniquely, would be if what that unlocks is access to your user profile and things associated with your user profile. For the payment authorization specifically, the whole consumer payment system is set up to make that unnecessary, right? In fact, if anything, they're moving in the other direction, which is that you don't even sign a lot of the time, right? You've got these, any transaction under $50 or whatever, right? Like the authorizations, the security component of the payment, like doing the authorization of the payment, determining if it's really you or if it's fraudulent, is really actually increasingly done through AI and less through actually any interaction at the point of sale. So for that type of authentication method, I would say, but where you could completely see it being valuable is if that's a shortcut way for unlocking essentially your user profile and the personalization aspects with that specific retailer.
Sure. And Mike, any comment on this bit of research here?
Sure. Yeah, I cannot believe they got 20% of anybody to put something under their skin. So that's a little surprising, but I don't know what value you're going to get out of that. But I found that one a little shocking. But I do think a lot of these, to your point, Tim, like they've been around for a while. We're trying to make them, again, have more pull to them. Like again, from selfishly looking, when you say, hey, look, we're going to put the loyalty card and the QR code together, hopefully that puts the percentage that would like to use some of our products. Again, we have that as a combined service. But again, I think what we're trying to do is facilitate multiple pieces that are different. Like Lisa and I may have very different needs and wants in there. If we can build those values together, and again, you can use a facial recognition on your phone, or you can use it at the terminal. Like those things have value, and could do those online too as well. So like, I think there's just a lot of opportunities, and the more we kind of get, these solidified and get customers comfortable, and then frequency where they can actually use them in a pretty frequent thing where I don't have to wander around and look, do they have the Apple Pay signal, or can I use this here? Customers don't want to really have to think about it. You don't want to have to we're, again, to your point, Tim, we're all payments people, so we like to try all these things out. Like the general customer doesn't want to sit there and think like 4 or 5 different ways as they're waiting in line. Like, oh, can I use this? Can I use that as PayPal here? Like, it's just too much work. Like they've already spent their time. They've made their decisions. They really just want to kind of get through this process. And if we make it hard for them, they're not going to look at these pieces. Or if there's not as many places to use them, we all have adoption curves that we've been talking about PayPal and, Apple Pay and things like that for several years now. So like some adoptions are there and others are not. So again, just getting that volume and getting that value, I think that's really when these start coming together, and maybe even they'll let you put it under your finger evidently too, if you get both those things. So we'll have to see on that one.
Yeah. And
I will make one correction to what I said, which is that the specific use case where those actually are getting a lot of traction is with restricted goods like liquor. So much to the dismay of, my teenage.
That's interesting.
The one specific use case, that you do see a lot of interest in adopting at the point of sale is using some sort of biometric authentication when something that's restricted like that. So.
No, that's a great idea. That's a good point. And again, it's a challenge. We have to ask the customer for an ID. It makes them uncomfortable. Like it makes our associate have to try to judge whether it's a good idea to ask you for your age or not. It's like some people take that as a compliment, others do not. So like it's something you have to navigate.
Yeah. And then Wendy, I know we had some questions coming in. I wanted to allow you some time for Q&A here.
Yeah, we have a couple coming in. We might have time for just one, but if you submitted a question and we don't get to it, we will email you a response. So a question is, how much is the quest to build first-party customer data driving the desire of retailers for some of these new payment or checkout methods?
Definitely. Definitely, especially when it comes to integrating that in-store, the online profile with in-store. Like, I think retailers see that as a huge gap, which I think as consumers, you feel that as a huge gap too. I might be like the world's best customer online, and then I go in the store and like they've never seen me before. And being able to have that much more holistic profile of the consumer, across the channels is definitely a big driver of like making the investments required, because there's investments required to like integrate or hook these two systems together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they're interlocked because again, we're trying to get from a customer benefit. We're trying to blend those two pieces together. So there is data exchange between those things. I think we're really looking at it from a perspective of how we make the customer shopping experience a lot easier. Because again, a lot of that the data piece is already built into our loyalty card to make sure we understand what their shopping habits are. This is just really, we see it as a component definitely, but it's really a facilitation tool that we're trying to deliver here. And again, those things are, most of our shops are with a loyalty card already. So we kind of have a lot of those pieces and elements already.
Great. I think we're at time. Tim or company, any final words?
I just want to thank both of you for a really insightful conversation and really appreciate you participating in the panel. And I want to thank Wendy for emceeing such a great event and thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Lisa. This has been terrific.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Take care.
Thanks.